he was talking about, I was at a dentist office once, and, you know, as I'm sitting there, you know, I pick up a magazine and it's talking about the life of a lobster. I'm like, I don't care about the life of a lobster, but I'm curious. So he opened the magazine and he read it. He said that a lobster is just a soft, mushy creature living in a hard shell. And as it grows, it feels intense pressure, so much pressure that what he does is he hides under a rock and he sheds to protect himself, and he sheds his shell and he grows a new one and he stays there until, you know, the shell hardens a little bit and then he comes out. And a couple of months go by and he does it again. There's so much pressure that he's growing, but there's so much pressure. But in order for him to keep growing, he needs to go back under the rock, shed his shell, and grow again. And this happens many times over his lifespan. And then what he said after is, if lobsters had doctors, they wouldn't, you know, or he said, thank God lobsters don't have doctors, because none of the lobsters would ever grow, because we'd medicate the shit out of them. Stress is part of life. It's a sign of life. It means you're about to grow through something. If you're going through a dark, troubled waters right now, just understand that there's lesson, there's life, there's growth that's coming from that. That's why they're not problems, they're opportunities. Look at your problems as opportunities, not as problems, because there's a lot of growth that happens when you're under a stressful situation. Ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? What am I supposed to learn? How can I grow from this? How is this going to help me in my life tomorrow, next day? How much of the crap that we've been through that now when we come across that situation, we're like, I can handle that. No big deal. Why? Because you've gone through the stress of it. Doesn't matter what it is. So, yeah. Just thought I'd throw that one into the pile. Thanks, Ed. Brad, good morning.
Anyway, well, so we're talking about this wisdom, best advice, and I've got 2 years of notebooks from you, all of you, like this room. So I don't think I can even start to summarize those in a 2-minute time frame. So I'm just going to throw one of my own out there, and it's actually very very alive in this market of 2023. And that was my biggest thing, is be consistent and persistent. Only I want to peel those words a little bit more and put a little more emphasis on them, because when I say consistent, I mean more consistent than you just thought about when I said consistent. And I mean way more persistent than what you thought about when I said persistent. So consistent part on, it's doing the nuances, doing the mundane, doing the 20% every single day. The Pareto principle, right? 20% of what you do generates 80% of the results, and 80% of what you do generates 20% of the results. But another way to say this, and Scott was talking yesterday about money. I think that was Scott that was talking about money. Might have been Brian. And not to put the emphasis on money, however, this example may really make the Pareto principle speak to you more now. And that is, think about this right now. Everybody sitting in this room, 20% of what we did yesterday generated 80% of our income. And when you really think about that, and we talked about money and income and everything it does for you, but if you wanted to double your income, do you realize all you have to do is figure out what the 20% is? Because you only did it 20% of your day yesterday. And we all have all this wisdom that we've gotten from each other, right? All we have to do is figure out what that is and do that 40% of the day, which isn't even half of our day, to double our income. The key is figuring out what that 20% is, and the fastest way to the cash, or the most productive thing you can do. What's bringing in new opportunities, new business, and be consistent on that 20%, not consistent on the 80% of making sure my file's clean and making sure this is cleaned up, make sure my desk is organized, making sure all that stuff. It's the 20% that's bringing in new. So now I'll jump onto persistent real quick. Well, actually, part of the other part of that is on being consistent and where I'm putting my money. I track everything for a 5 to 10 times return, or I don't do it. I literally have an opportunity to work with Dave Ramsey's program, and he's got great referrals that come through his program of people that want to own homes. And I was talking to the guy yesterday, and I'm like, all right, so what you're doing to get into this program, I have to get a 5 times return. That means in the first 30 to 60 days, I need to make $15,000 in commissions, or I don't care how great his program is. If it costs this to get involved, I need that to come out of it, and I'm not waiting 6 months for it. So let's figure out a plan and make it work. Or I don't do it, no matter how cool it sounds, no matter how awesome it would be. And the persistent part is just continuing to do something more. Well, actually, the what I want to say is being persistent is continuing to do something when it's difficult and other people may want you to stop or other people may stop doing it. And so for 2023, the persistent message I have is more, more, more. And when I say persistent, it's not like touch somebody 12 times. 24 is better. 36 is even better. But there will be a point of return. You don't have to touch somebody 150 times a year, but you do have to do it more than 12. 12 worked at one time, it doesn't work now. 24 doesn't work. It does not keep you top of mind. Studies have shown that it's going to be 36 times a year that somebody sees you, thinks of you, knows you, hears your voice, all that, multiple mediums all over the place, that you're going to stay top of mind. And anything less than that, you start to drift backwards. So it's just about the persistent part is do more, and the consistent part is do the right activities every single day. That's my share.
Love it. Love it. Do more and do it consistently. Because consistency is the key, right? Doing, again, just a throwback. There was a commercial that was played for a couple of years. And it was, listen, some of the best commercials are from Big Pharma, from the evil corporations, right? Because they know how to get to you psychologically. And some of them are so powerful that you remember them 20, 30 years later. This is one of those. But it was brilliant. And it was a medication. I forget what it was for, but it was about really consistency. And the person would go to the yoga studio, roll out the mat, do one pose, and leave. They would go to the gym, do one push-up, and leave. They would eat one bean for one piece of asparagus, and they're done. And that's like the things that they would do. And in other words, you can't just do things once. You can't just do it. It's about repetition. It's about doing it consistently. When it comes to marketing and business, you've got to be front of mind. You've got that in-your-face advertising that you're always seeing. Like that annoying ad that you see on Instagram or Facebook or whatever all the time. Right now, I know you're thinking of one. That's how it works. And if you're thinking about getting a product like that, the first thing you're going to think about is that product. Why? Because it's in your face. So repetition. To Brad's point, stay front of mind. It's literally you're pre-programming people to think about you, to think about your product, your service, or whatever it is. So thanks for that, Brad. Appreciate it.